Talk about bankruptcy. A fresh start's closer than you see. It rebuilds lives and brings back smiles. This is the Bankruptcy Files.
Hey, bankruptcy buddies. Welcome to the Bankruptcy Files. I'm Lauren Clark, a South Carolina attorney who helps debtors. I've been doing this for about 17 years, and we're doing this podcast to let people know what bankruptcy is about because I don't think it gets the rep that it deserves. Today, I am joined by one of my colleagues in Texas. Her name is Theda Page. Welcome to the Bankruptcy Files, Theda.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm so excited to be here. Lauren and I went to Facebook together, so we've known each other for a long time. And now we get to chat.
So exciting. So we have a bankruptcy group, and Theda and I have been Facebook friends for a long time. We have chatted in the group. So to finally get to see you face to face and talk about things that we're passionate about. Yes, before I pressed record, we've been talking for over an hour. And I was like, Theda, I could talk all day. Like, I got to stop myself. It was hard. But we're going to keep talking about bankruptcy, which I'm excited. I am excited about the topic that you want to discuss, which is how does bankruptcy save you money? If bankruptcy is not saving you money, it might not be a good option. And that's one of the things that I evaluate during consultations. There's so many ways it saves money, though, just ways that people don't even think about. So I am excited to talk about that. But before we get into that, there are 3 questions that I always ask my guest host. So the first one, we're about to bankruptcy nerd out here. Why do you enjoy practicing bankruptcy?
Well, Lauren, for many, many years, I've called myself the Reconstructionist. And that is because I help people with debilitating debt get rid of that debt. And sometimes that is through filing bankruptcy. Once people get rid of that debt, they are able to move forward on a new trajectory in life. And they can not only set themselves up financially, but in so many aspects of their life. And I just feel like I'm the best job in the world. And it is my absolute privilege to get to do the work that I do.
I couldn't agree more. There is something magical about bankruptcy, even just making debt disappear. And you're so right. One of the ways that you build wealth is by getting out of debt, by stopping the cycle of paying money to borrow money, paying extra money for your goods and services. Things are expensive right now. If you charge something on a credit card, add 20% in interest to that cost. It's a lot.
At least 20%.
At least. So what geographical areas do you serve?
So Texas is a really big state. There will be a storm in Houston and people will ask me, are you okay? And I'm like, Houston is 5 hours away from me. Texas has a northern district, a southern district, an eastern district, and a western district because federal courts are divided by districts. My office is in Frisco, Texas, which used to be a sleepy little town. It's a suburb north of Dallas. We sit in the eastern district, which doesn't really make sense geographically. Dallas and Fort Worth are the northern districts. I mainly file my cases in the eastern district. Sometimes I'll go to the northern district. They charge for parking over there now that everybody's all remote. Parking's not a big issue. But in the eastern district, we had free parking, and I'm all about that free parking because I like to save money. So I am primarily in the eastern district. Just think of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and in particular, the northern suburbs of Dallas. Frisco, Prosper, Salina, McKinney, all the great suburbs.
I was going to say, give us some of the counties.
Denton County and Collin County are the big counties in the eastern district.
South Carolina, we only have 1 district, and only one of our courts has any areas where you might find free parking. Although it depends on how early you get there. But like you said, Zoom 341 meetings ever since COVID, a lot of courts have that procedure, and it's saving us on gas money. It's saving on parking.
It saves time, and time is money.
If you'd like to schedule a consultation with Theda at The Page Law Firm in Frisco, I will have her information in the show notes, and I will put the counties from the Eastern District of Texas so you can see if you might be in that location. It's so important to consult with a local attorney. There are specific rules. You want to talk to somebody who can advise you. THEYDA is a great attorney. One of the things we were talking about is how scared people are when they come to see us. And by the end of the meeting, one of the things we love about our job is seeing that relief, hearing it in their voices, seeing it on their faces. If somebody calls you, what should they expect for a consultation?
So, if somebody calls, and we're not available to answer the phone, they're going to get a text message from us because I have found that people don't like to answer the phone if they don't know who's calling. So if it doesn't show up on their caller ID, the Page Law Firm. So we're going to send you a text message and we're going to get you set up for a strategy session. And if you are truly a consumer case, meaning you haven't operated a business, you don't have business issues, then it's a complimentary 40-minute session on Zoom. We're going to send you a link for Zoom. We're going to send you an email with some documents to have handy. I kind of ask for a lot of documents, but I don't want people to be intimidated by that. I just like you to start thinking about gathering stuff because bankruptcy, we're digging deep into your finances. So we do need a lot of documents and a lot of information.
That's the hardest part, is getting the documents together.
Actually, Lauren, you know what I think is the hardest part? Coming to the realization that you might have to reach out to a bankruptcy lawyer.
Profound.
A lot of people, they feel like I have failed. Nothing could be further from the truth because what you've done is you've realized I got a problem and I need to fix the problem. And now I'm going to start gathering information to fix the problem.
My mentor used to say bankruptcy is a solution, not a failure.
Right. A lot of times we are the first lawyers that people have ever talked to. And people have this idea in their head about what a lawyer looks like and how a lawyer might be. And so they're a little surprised that they're going to get a warm virtual hug from me. I'm not going to yell at them. I am not going to ask them why they are not working 42 jobs to pay their debt. I'm going to talk about what is the debt. What are your assets? How are we going to protect your assets? And is bankruptcy really right for you? I mean, I've got an ebook on my website called Is Bankruptcy Right for Me? 4 things to consider, because it may not be right for you. So we're gonna have strategy session. We're gonna talk about what can bankruptcy do.
I like that strategy session. That's how I handle it as well. We're looking to see if this is a good option. Does this help you meet your goals? There are times, I talked about this with Mike Moody on the AI podcast and with Sal Lopez on the debt settlement podcast. There are times where it doesn't make sense. And we tell people that. Sometimes people will argue with me. No, I really do need to file bankruptcy. I'm like, no, it's not what you need to meet your goals. Don't give me your money.
And that's what Lauren and I are going to talk about saving money and how bankruptcy can help you save money.
So talking to an attorney, the sooner you do, the more money you can save. And it's because of some of these reasons. And why are we saying talk to an attorney, talk to an attorney? Bankruptcy is complicated. The 342 notice that everybody reads, everybody signs under penalty of perjury when they file a case that they have read it. There's a big bold box and it tells you this is one of the most technically difficult areas of law, and pro se individuals have trouble filing it on their own. It's so procedurally heavy. You have to do things, you have to do it the right way, and it involves so many areas of law. Just what areas we have to analyze to properly analyze a bankruptcy case: real estate law, family law, personal injury law. It goes on and on. It is difficult, but a lot of bankruptcy attorneys offer low-cost consultations. Some even do free consultations. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to get that information.
Information is power. And I know with ChatGPT and Claude, and people feel like they can do their own bankruptcy. But I saw someone who filed bankruptcy on her own. This was years ago when we were in person. And she had worked for the post office for a number of years and had her retirement account. And she had not protected her retirement account in her bankruptcy. That meant that her retirement account belonged to the bankruptcy trustee for the benefit of her creditors. It just broke my heart to see that. I saw somebody else who came to their creditors meeting, and the trustee had to tell them that because they filed their bankruptcy the day after their house was foreclosed on, there was nothing that could be done to save their house. They did it on their own.
And that's not saying that that's the case in every jurisdiction. Every
Right.
jurisdiction has different rules. In South Carolina, that's kind of one of those where it depends. Was there deficiency or not? Also, I've seen people try to file on their own several times. And by the time they come to me, they're limited from filing another case because of 362 and limitations on refiling. You were talking about the 341 meeting. I remember a case in person years ago. One of my favorite trustees, he looked at the debtor. He said, "You have 5 days, ma'am. Pro se debtor, filed on their own. You have 5 days to amend your schedules. Otherwise, I can come into your house, take all your food, take the clothes out of your dresser, take everything you own. You've got 5 days to fix it." Chapter 7.
Wow.
So,
And it doesn't have to be that way, which is why you want to talk to a lawyer. And you can see from me and Lauren, we're pretty nice. I think bankruptcy are the best
yeah,
lawyers. I think we are some of the nicest lawyers you're going to find and the smartest, but I
it
don't really
is,
say
our bar is so awesome. Like you were saying, people don't know what to expect from a lawyer. And I feel like sometimes when they meet me, they're like, "Are you sure?" I deal with tense situations by cracking jokes. I can't help it. But I don't think bankruptcy lawyers necessarily fit into that stereotype of lawyers. I think we're more fun. I love our bar.
it's a collegial atmosphere more so than some other areas
Yeah.
of the practice.
And
So
everybody tries to help
I
each
like
other out because it is so complicated. You and I both on our bankruptcy lawyer group, we mentor other attorneys. We try to give them other ideas and nobody's making anyone feel stupid or everybody's just so supportive.
yeah.
But before we jump into this, so let's talk about your TikTok.
Before we talk about my TikTok, we have to talk about a conversation that Lauren and I had via Facebook Messenger. Lauren's in South Carolina. I'd tell Lauren I used to work there when I was in high school. And Lauren says, "Really? When?" And I jokingly said, "Probably before you were born." And then we discovered that I was right.
She was
That,
right.
yes.
She
So,
doesn't look at bankruptcy buddies. She does not look at, you would never guess it. But
so I
it was
am on
true.
TikTok. Yes, it was true.
She's been practicing law actually 2 years after I was born. You have so much experience and expertise, which it's such a pleasure to have you on. I thought it was very interesting that you worked with J.C. Penney and helped them develop bankruptcy. Did they end up in bankruptcy at one point themselves? This was probably after you worked for them.
Long after I worked there. Yeah, not
Yes.
that during the pandemic. A lot of retailers
They made it.
actually. That's the thing about bankruptcy. You will make it through. But I am on TikTok. I reserved my TikTok name 6 years ago. So I don't post a lot on there. I did post about Michael Jackson yesterday because I went to see the movie. I love Michael Jackson, but I am the bankruptcy babe on TikTok. No matter what your age is, you probably love Michael Jackson.
I grew up listening to the records. He has influenced so much music, like Justin Timberlake,
Yeah.
heavily influenced by Michael Jackson, really a musical savant.
Yes. And there's always a bankruptcy connection. So one of the Jackson brothers, Randy Jackson, actually filed a bankruptcy many years ago. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. There's always a bankruptcy connection, whatever we're talking. But yeah, I'm the bankruptcy babe on TikTok. So you're not going to see me on TikTok doing the latest dance. Not because I don't like to dance, because I actually love to dance, but I'm just not on TikTok dance. And I like to sing. I'm just tone deaf, so you definitely won't hear me singing on TikTok. But every now and
You
then
and
I'm
me
going to
both.
drop some bankruptcy stuff out there.
Now, I was in 7th grade in Catholic school. My best friend turned to me during Mass and said, "Stop singing." I said, "Why? God wants us to sing." She goes, "You offend God when you sing." Point taken. She wasn't wrong. She was not wrong. Sounds like a cat dying. Anyway,
Joyful noise. The Bible
that's not
calls it a
joyful.
joyful
That sounds
noise.
terrifying.
I am tone deaf. Somebody asked me something about a song once, and I was singing it to her, and she said, "I recognize those words, but I have no idea that melody." And she was trying to be so nice and polite
understand.
about it.
So everybody go follow Bankruptcy Babe on TikTok. Let's talk
That's
about
right.
it. Does bankruptcy save you money? Well, first of all, if it doesn't, it may not be the best option. It's probably going to be one of those situations where the attorney says, no, sometimes it's a not right now. That
Right.
might be a whole
Yeah, a
nother
lot of
topic.
yeah, the not right now, because you gotta be strategic.
It's all
So,
about timing.
yeah, and
So,
it really
what got us into this topic was one of your passions, Theta, and that
mhm.
is retirement accounts.
Yes. When you're in your golden years, you're going to want to have some assets saved up. When you're in your 30s and 40s, you kind of think about your 401k as your piggy bank. And I always say, if I could buy billboards and put them on the highways around town, my billboard would say, do not liquidate your 401k to pay your debt because you have lost that money. And some people say, but I'm paying myself back. I'm getting a loan and I'm paying myself back. But you have still lost that money.
And you've lost more than what you borrowed.
Yeah. You've lost your company match if your company matches. So it's just not worth it. That's something to think about.
You're also losing the capitalized interest. One of the neat things with retirement accounts, the money that you put in earns interest. And then the next year, that interest earns interest. So the money that your money is making money. And if you borrow it, you're losing that.
Yes. And that's so important. We really do like to help people, not just, okay, you're going to get rid of this debt, but think about because you got rid of the debt, what are you doing for yourself, for your children and your grandchildren by doing that?
I tell people this is probably one of the areas where I don't want repeat business. I want you to
Yes.
make the most out of your fresh start. I want you to go and thrive and never have this burden of debt again because it's such a burden. It's so heavy to carry.
It is. I always describe debt as being debilitating.
Yes.
And when you have a lot of debt, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out how am I going to pay this debt? When you receive a bankruptcy discharge and your brain is no longer running through that analysis of how I'm going to pay this debt, then you show up very differently in the world. And a lot of times for my clients, they make more money because they're showing up differently in the world. And I love
Well,
that.
you're more motivated because you're not having to spend it to pay extra cost for something because you were in a tough situation and you got quote unquote help from a lender and they decide to charge you 5 times what it cost in interest. You're
Yeah.
actually paying the price of things for what they are and you're able to enjoy your money and invest your money and do all kinds of things with it.
Yeah.
So it makes it feel more worth it when you're not working to pay a corporation lots of money to line their pocket.
So sometimes in that initial strategy session, I will ask, what credit card do you owe the most money on? Almost everybody, it's Chase. And the chairman and CEO of Chase Bank, you can look it up. We don't have to call out his name. I believe his annual compensation package is about $34 million. And I asked, what could you do with $34 million? Do you know why he makes that kind of money? It's because Chase Bank collects a lot of money from people and they factor that in when they're making a decision to give you a credit card.
Well, Chase Bank, so before they make that decision to give that CEO that pay, they need to make sure they're paying their shareholders money. So people that own stock in Chase, they are all making money. And then you've got the CEO making money on top of that.
Yeah.
One of the things I love, this is a tool. I don't know that a lot of people know about it, but credit card interest calculators, just to see what the cost of debt is. If you don't mind, let's pull one up and just show the bankruptcy buddies a hypothetical.
Okay. Let's do that.
All right. So I have that credit card calculator up. So all this money that these creditors are making, let's go ahead and show the bankruptcy buddies. This one is by Bankrate. I like it because it gives you 2 different options. One of them is how long to pay it off. You can put in the amount of months, or if you put in your payment, the question is how many months to pay it off. hypothetical, we've got a $20,000 credit card. I have 21.52% interest, which is today's average interest. It's anywhere from like 15% to 30% on credit cards. But as of today, May 19th, 2026, the average rate is 21.52%. I've seen them as high as 1,000. The reason I put $459 a month in is because I ran a calculation. If someone came to me and the only debt they had was $20,000 in credit card debt, and for some reason they were required to pay 100% of it back in a 13, the payment would be $459 a month for 5 years. And that would also include what it costs to pay your attorney. So I wanted to see what the difference was between paying that back over 5 years in a bankruptcy and paying that back over, appears to be 86 months.
86
So that's
months.
26 more months of payment. 26 months. That's $19,000 in interest. That's almost double. The total cost outside of bankruptcy with the average rate would be $39,267. 100% of it back in a 13. Bankruptcy, $27,000. You're saving money. $459 over 26 months. It looks like you're saving $11,934.
And what could you do? You might need some home repairs that you could pay cash for rather than financing the home repairs.
So like Theda said, get the home repairs instead of borrowing money to get them and then paying interest on the money you borrowed for them. What if you invest it? Retirement accounts. Let's just take a look. You're going to retire around 67. We're going to say you have $0 investments. So let's say you have $20,000 in credit card debt. You're going to pay it off for 86 months. So a little over 7 years. So we'll just round it up to 7 years. Okay, so you're 40. 40, you have $20,000 in credit card debt. And at 47, you finally get this extra $459 a month to start investing, and you want to retire at 67. 47, you start putting that in. And we're going to say 7% interest, which pretty conservative number. So the results, you would have 20 years of investing at $459 a month. You'll put in $110,000 and you'll earn $128,000. You have $239,105 total. It more than doubles in value by the time you retire. But let's see, what does adding 2 extra years? So you start this at 45 because you filed bankruptcy. If you start 2 years earlier. So we go from 239,105 to 286. 286. 2 extra years of investing.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's $50,000.
Yeah. You're making money.
So you're not just saving the money that you aren't paying back to the creditors. You're also earning money. All right, let's talk about some other savings here. Home equity. We talked about retirement and how tough that is to see someone come in and they've spent their retirement to pay off creditors, an asset that typically creditors can't touch. I see the same thing with home equity. And this also is going to depend by jurisdiction. But when I see someone take out a home equity line of credit and pull money out of their house that their creditors could not have touched, and change that debt from an unsecured debt to a secured debt, which has more rights in the bankruptcy, it's another gut punch for me.
Your heart just breaks. It's like, oh, if you had talked to me before, we could have saved you that money. And even though when you're borrowing at a HELOC, your interest rate is probably less than credit card, you've still turned that unsecured debt into secured debt. That means that debt has to be paid back.
It does. And whether that's in the plan or outside of the plan, you go from maybe having debt where you pay a portion of it back, or maybe none of it back, or maybe all of it back, but without interest, and you turn it into a debt you have to pay back with interest.
It's probably going to be a long period of time. So here again, you're losing money that you could have invested.
Other thing, emergency savings. So when you don't have all of this debt to pay back, you can start getting those tools that are needed for building wealth, like emergency savings. And why is that important?
Most Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency. You don't want to be in that camp. You want to be in the camp where you have an emergency. You can just pay for whatever that emergency is. And that emergency might be your out of pocket at the emergency room because a kiddo got hurt. Or right now, where I'm sitting in Texas, we're having a really bad storm. It's springtime. That means hail, and that means roof repairs, and that means an insurance deductible. And so sometimes you may need to pay $9,000 or $10,000 for your deductible to get your roof repaired. And if you don't have an emergency savings,
Then
yeah,
you just borrow it from your savings. You borrow it from yourself and pay yourself back without
yeah,
interest, or pay yourself back with
yeah.
interest and you keep the extra money.
And you don't have to worry about some type of taxable event when you've taken the money as a distribution out of your 401k, and that money you have been saving on a no tax or pre-tax basis. And then at the end of the year, now you owe the IRS.
Excellent point. Just another one of the reasons it's bad to take out that retirement. You make a good
Yeah.
point here. You were talking about insurance. So you have this extra money because you've gotten out of debt. Insurance is an important tool for protecting wealth, unless like you're one of those people who are extremely wealthy and your money is earning more than you can even give away. Insurance
Yeah.
as
That
a tool for
is
protecting wealth.
right. Do you have life insurance? What's going to happen to your family if you were to die? And maybe you have life insurance through your employer, but it may just be equal to 1 year's earnings. And that money will go pretty quickly. And is that going to cover your funeral expenses? And
Like my parent, her husband got cancer, so he had to leave employment and lost the life insurance.
mm, yikes.
So
Yeah.
insurance planning super important. Now, one
Yeah.
last thing we wanted to talk about with savings and bankruptcy, tax refunds. That's such a good
Yeah.
way to end this.
Yeah. So we could go on and on talking about your tax refund. And so often I'll see people, especially at this time of the year, and they've gotten their tax refund and they're very excited because they paid off one credit card, but they still have five more. And now they're trying to figure out, oh, I paid that one. And what do I do? One of the best ways to use your tax refund is pay your bankruptcy lawyer. And then your bankruptcy lawyer can help you not manage one credit card, but manage all six of your credit cards. And maybe you have some IRS debt, and maybe that can be managed through bankruptcy. And I'm sure Lauren can do a whole podcast on getting rid of tax debt in bankruptcy because that is possible.
Yes, actually, I
Instead,
had an attorney that was interested in talking about that. We were scheduled for the same day my dog passed away, though, so I do need to reschedule with her. But that is a whole nother fun area. The tax refunds, also getting your tax refund. Let's say you have a confirmed plan and the IRS has been taking your tax refund because you owe other past due taxes. Bankruptcy might just put that back in your pocket about a year after you file,
yeah,
depending on
sure.
circumstances.
Depending on your
Um,
circumstances. Yeah.
Also, just another way to save money. What you said, Theta, don't give the IRS money to hold for you that they're not paying interest back on. Don't let them borrow your money.
Yeah. I mean, actually, the best way would be if you don't get a refund, because if you get a refund, that means you loan the federal government money. And my guess is you probably are not in a position where you can afford to loan the federal government money. So a tax refund isn't always the panacea that sometimes we think it is. There's
And they're
Lauren and
not
I
paying
could,
you interest on it. And if
no,
that money
they're
was
not.
in your pocket, maybe
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to charge for your food and pay interest on your food because instead you'd have that money that the government's just holding. But that is something I do during consults. If I see a particularly egregious tax refund, I say, go talk to our tax person. Let's fix
Yeah.
that. Anything that you want to add before we end this wonderful episode of the Bankruptcy Files?
I always say hashtag bankruptcy is beautiful. I mean, it really is. As you've heard Lauren and I talk, there are so many things that you can use bankruptcy for. It truly is a tool. You need to have it in your toolbox. So that means you need to talk to a bankruptcy lawyer. If you've got a debt problem that you cannot solve, it's probably a good idea to talk to a bankruptcy lawyer. And you can talk to Lauren in South Carolina. You can talk to me if you're in the Eastern District of Texas. We are happy to help you. And Lauren and I know a lot of people because, like I said, we went to Facebook together. We go back a long way. So maybe we know somebody where you
We
live.
did. Actually, our Facebook high school that we went to with the bankruptcy attorneys, at one point I had created that Google map to see where everyone was located. So we have wonderful colleagues. I always say go local, don't look for a big company because the local rules are so vital in bankruptcy. Thank you so much for coming on, Theda. I know you've got a meeting to get to, and I really, really appreciate you being here. This is so fun. You're my first lady attorney on the podcast. And I'm so excited that we got to have this conversation today. It has been years in the making.
It has been, and I'm so glad to meet you almost in real life. So that means I need to come to South Carolina and meet you in real life.
We will
Okay.
go out on the town. It will be so much fun. Please, anytime, come back. I had so much fun talking to you, and this was a great episode. Bankruptcy Buddies, I hope you enjoy it. We will see you soon, and thank you for listening.
Disclaimer, the Bankruptcy Files does not provide legal advice. Commentary on this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, including discussions of public bankruptcy cases and online content. Listeners should consult a qualified local attorney. Interacting with this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship. Hosts and guests speak in their personal capacity. The Bankruptcy Files is not affiliated with any employers or law firms and is not a debt relief agency or provider of legal services.